Hey guys, I've decided it's time to take some cuttings from my beautiful geraniums, and this is quite hard to do because they're looking so pretty. Especially this one over here. It's covered with blooms. The reason I've decided the time is now is because last night we were down into the 40s. So I'm in danger of losing my plants once the closer it gets to 40, the worse it is for geraniums. They really like warm temperatures. And normally I pull the whole plant, but in this case, I think I'm going to take cuttings and I'm going to show you why. If we go in here, these are geraniums I've taken in for many years, but the structure of the plant is kind of splaying out in the middle. I don't know if you can see that, but what's happening is all the branches are kind of splaying out from the middle, and that can create a plant that's going to break, have branches that break. I hope you were able to see that. And actually it's happening over here too. As you can see in the middle of this one as well, it's also splayed out from the middle. So I think the best thing to do would be to cut some of these branches and pop them in some fresh soil and just let them root inside, grow them as house plants over the winter. And I'm always reluctant to do that because I don't have a lot of space, but I think I can manage so that I am able to give these beautiful geraniums a fresh start. And these are actually my favorite ones. I love the bloom structure. I love the color. It's like a jewel toned red. I'm just gonna cut it right under a node and I'm gonna take some of the thicker stems. I'll leave some of the thinner stems. There's a nice thick stem down here. This is a nice thick stem, and I'll remove the flowers, set them inside, and just let them root where it's gonna be a lot warmer. Well, I got quite a few cuttings from my geraniums, and I'm going to try to pot those up. I think I need perhaps to grab some more pots. I could put 2 cuttings in each one. That would probably be just fine. Geranium roots aren't that large. Let me show you what I got here. I'm going to be removing all the flowers. This is what I consider to be a really nice cutting. It's straight in its structure, and it has part of the more mature branch. I don't know if you'd call it semi-hardwood. I don't know if you can refer to annuals as such, but most of my cuttings have a bit of this more mature, darker, a little bit brown stem on them. So I think those are going to root really well. Geraniums root fantastically well. But I was looking for branches that would, once I remove the flowers and some leaves, were kind of straighter. And I want them to grow in a pretty bushy, straight manner. So I can stick that in and it's going to grow up straight. So let me get started. I am going to use some Miracle Grow potting mix. I think that it's really important, if you're bringing things inside to root, that you use a fresh bag that hasn't been outdoors. So although I'm trying to reduce my dependence on bagged soil and bagged products from the nursery, I do feel like this is one circumstance where it is warranted. And I think for the cost of 1 bag of potting soil, I'm going to have loads of new geraniums to bring out in the spring, and I love to plan ahead for the next season. So I think a $9 investment for fresh soil is going to pay back in spades. Let's go ahead and get these beauties potted up. I did want to show you what I used. I just used a pair of Fiskars hand pruners, and I sprayed a little alcohol spray on it just so that these cuttings didn't get any germs on it. I wanted them to be nice and fresh, and you want to be careful when you're taking cuttings. So I just have I'm recycling some pots that plants have come in over the years. I've used these over and over. I may put 2 in at a time as a space saver. I'm a little chilly myself, so if I'm chilly, I know these geraniums are chilly. So here's the first cutting I have, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the lower leaves, and geranium leaves just snap off very easily. And I'm going to remove this beautiful flower and pinch off, what I see here is another flower bud that wants to form. So I'm going to pinch that off and take this off and leave a couple of leaves. And I think that's fine, because if the plant can't support those leaves, they'll just dry up. As you can see, one cutting I've taken off a pile of things. That'll go to the compost. But I have my pot of soil, and it doesn't have to be too big, but I'm going to put this cutting, I'm pushing it down. I'm not even using rooting hormone. I don't think that's going to be necessary. But I have that over here on one side, and I'll go ahead and do the same thing to this cutting. I may even pinch out the middle here. Just pinch that part out that was going to flower and pull off the leaves. And you know, these might look horrible inside all winter, but I know that if they root and I put them out in the spring, they'll just take right off. So we're not going for beauty, guys. We're just going for rooting. And the soil is nice and loose. It's fresh. As you can hear, the heat came on. I mean, I don't know why I'm in a sleeveless dress. Now see, this one is a little bit crooked. So I tried to pick more cuttings that look like this in a more of a straight looking structure, but that's okay. This will do. Okay, so I have my first pot potted up, and by putting two plants in each, sometimes plants will root if they feel a plant close by to them rooting. So there is something that can happen chemically that encourages cuttings to root if you plant them in multiples. There's probably a name for it that I can't recall, but this is a very nice straight cutting as well. That's a nice one. So we'll just push that down into the side. And guys, honestly, you can add rooting hormone if you're in a hurry, but I'm not going to use these till next spring. So there is no rush on these. Let's see, here's a pretty large cutting. I'll take those off. Gosh, I really hate to chop up a flower that looks so nice. But we do not want these to be focusing on flowers. We want these plants to be focusing on rooting in, so we can get lots of flowers next year. And I'm just firming down the soil around the stems. I may even add a little bit more on top now that I've firmed it. This is so much fun though, guys, but you know, making new plants is one of my favorite things to do. When you are doing cuttings, you really do want to make sure that you're using a loose soil, but that it's firmly around the stem. The stem needs to feel the moist soil around it in order to stimulate growth. And the thing about cuttings is they won't all make it. That's okay. That's why you take a lot. Here's a nice one. Also a little bit on the small side, but we can work with it. And if they send up flowers inside, you do want to just pull those flowers off, because you want the plant to focus on making roots and also leaves. New leaves are great. I'm going to water these in when I'm finished, but I'm not going to worry too much about watering them inside. I'm going to water them from time to time if they get really dry. But the thing about a geranium stem is it's almost a succulent. These stems hold a lot of water, and that's one of the reasons they don't set out a huge root system. They just don't need it, guys. They hold a lot of water. I do have a shelf with some artificial light, and most likely that's where these are going to end up, especially as the winter light diminishes. I'm wondering if this method of overwintering is possible to do with ageratum plants. I'm gonna give it a try. And just like that, guys, I have 16 geranium cuttings and 8 ageratum cuttings on the go. So the ageratum cuttings are gonna be an experiment. I've never done that before. So we'll see if they root in and or if they survive the winter inside. But I feel like I'm really ahead of the game with my annuals. It didn't take very long, and it was a beautiful morning to do it. So I hope you're having fun in your fall gardens, and I'll see you next time.